it, and what coaches did you love playing for and why? Because of their bench management. And then I have a question for all of you regarding the bench management. We are saying we're rolling the lines and having everybody equal opportunity. So if we coach to develop and we have players who obviously work harder than others, do we reward with ice time, or do we take away ice time because of lack of discipline and lack of work ethic? Or are we past that? We don't do that anymore. Everybody has equal opportunity and we just roll 3 lines or 4 lines, whatever we have. It's a very interesting topic, and I've been coaching for over 30 years, and I struggle until today, and I struggled with the national team. We played 3 lines, we played 4, we matched lines, we didn't, and I don't have the answers. But I'm old school, and I believe you had a great shift. You kept the other team in their D zone, and you guys had shots, and you back checked well. Here's another shift as a reward. Now you have to take that shift from somebody else away, or you didn't back check, you lost battles, and you didn't come. Your shift was too long. You miss a shift. We don't do that anymore. We're away from that. We just roll, and whatever happens, happens. So that's a question for you. But Dominic, if you would start, please, with the question I had for you.
Yeah, well, first of all, good to see you, Thomas. It's been a while. I got a couple more gray hairs, and looks like you've been doing okay in that department. But yeah, no. If I look back, first off, I think I was like any player, and I just wanted to get on the ice as much as possible. And I think and I look back in the teams that where you feel that, well, just put me back out there, I'm gonna score again. I couldn't get enough ice time, and I think that I was a younger player and immature in the way of what would enable our team to be successful. And as I progressed through, you come to the realization, if we're going to win something as a team, which in fact it is a team sport, that we're going to need everybody, and everybody's going to need to be involved. And for not only for the short-term game, but the long term of winning a championship. So if I'm able to reflect back on my time, and obviously every team I played with, you had a little bit of a different role, and at the different levels I had a different role. And looking at what made those individual teams successful, I would say the coaches that were able to include the more players within that kind of concept were the teams that were more successful. And then again, that sounds pretty cliche to say that, but because I can think of times when, and I think when I first went over to Europe, I was on a smaller budget team, and we had, in Switzerland, they have imports, and we had 4 or 5 imports, and that team would just basically keep throwing us out, and we would play, let's say 25 minutes a game. And, on the nights, there'd be certain nights where we'd be the difference and we'd win, but then we would play against one of the bigger money teams that had more depth. And it was just like we were expected to be in every situation. And it was never enough. And I remember talking to a player, another import on the other team, and he was only playing, like if I played 25, 26 minutes, he was playing 18 minutes and he was miserable. He was like, oh, I wish I could play as much as you. But his team won. His team literally won. And that conversation, I think about it quite often, because I'm like, here I am just wanting to win, and getting as much ice time as possible, like basically be able to do whatever you want, and just not having the mindset of whether it was the coaches just playing just a select few, and then here's this individual whose team ended up going on and winning a championship, and he's upset because he doesn't get like 4 or 5 minutes more. So from my perspective, I think, you know, um, I guess it's just the way of my experience is that to be able to involve the majority of the player, and again, like it's, you know, short term, if you run your horses, yeah, for sure you're going to get short term game in at times you're going to get short term game, you're going to win those individual games, and maybe you'll go through a streak where you're successful. But I think over the long term, it's just the game has become so much of a four-line game. And I apologize, the announcements are coming through, so I might have to mute because I've got the announcements coming through. But I'll just finish quickly here. I think you have to play a four-line game and include everybody. So I'll let someone else take over. I have the announcements coming in.
Yeah, if anyone wants to go ahead, just, you know, the question I asked all of you guys, really, your experience, you know, like, do we use bench management to teach work ethic, to teach, to stay on our philosophy, to fulfill the goals that we set? And if yes, then how do we do it? And so, yeah, go ahead, because I certainly don't have the answers.
Yeah, I think you're next, Mike. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, thanks. I was actually, I had another question about development first, fun and all that, but this is a great conversation because this is something we struggle with every day. And I think a lot of it, Thomas, too, for me, it depends on what level I'm coaching. But I think one of my overriding philosophies for the families and the kids that I play for is that I always try to find a balance that every player believes they're going to play as much as possible, right? So they have to have the belief. So if there's players that are performing better because they work harder and they show up for practice and they do the extra work, those players are getting the benefit because they are doing those things. But I never want to pick a player and then say, well, no matter how hard you work and no matter what your effort is and no matter what you do, you're just not good enough to play for me. Then I don't want to pick that player. Then why have that player on my team? And I think that's why I try to, you know, but if you make my team, you made it because I believe you are going to play. Now, is it going to be equal? Maybe that is old school, right? I don't even know it's old school. It's just, I don't believe that everyone gets the same chance just because they paid to play or they made a team. Because there are certain, like it was so funny. My son came home the other day. He's a very, very good student. Came home from school with his partner, and he said, "Oh, I got a 90 on this project." And my partner, the person that was supposed to be working with me, didn't do his part. But so my grade suffered from that. And a part of me says, well, okay, that's not fair, right? Because, you know, maybe you got to pick a better partner next time. You know, when you guys don't pick your friend that you know doesn't do anything, pick a person you know is going to have a great work ethic and get the job done. And I think I try to use that same philosophy on all my teams, whether you're an 8U or an 18U, that you're making my team because I believe in you. The family knows that, but you also have to do the work that's going to give you the opportunity to be on the power play, on the ice for the last 2 minutes of the game. And I do it all the time. I've had players that have come in that skill-wise, maybe they shouldn't be on the ice with 2 minutes left, but I believe they can succeed. And what I mean by success is maybe we lose or win, maybe they lose, you know, but they're going to be successful in believing they should be out there with 2 minutes left in the game. And I know, and for me at the youth level too, a lot of it's protecting the player because 12-year-olds are nasty, right? You got to protect the player by not putting them in a situation where you know they're going to fail just because it's their turn up and they're going to get blamed in the locker room and blamed in the hallway and, you know, blamed by the parents of they're the ones that lost the game. So, but my core belief all the time is that if you are on my team, I believe you should be playing for us and you should believe that I want you to succeed.
But what you're saying, particularly, you're still coaching. It's not just rolling the lines. You're coaching, right? Like you see that
if everybody just felt you roll the lines, if everybody felt like, okay, I made the team, so now it goes 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, but the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of the last group hasn't been at practice for a week, or is, continues to have Taco Bell before they get on the ice. That kid is not equal in their effort and their preparation, in my mind.
I agree. Absolutely. Yeah.
And I don't mean this as a 4-year-old. Like, this is not a 4-year-old.
No, of course not.
These are children that have the ability to understand preparation. And
Absolutely.
the kid that shows up 25 minutes before he's supposed to and does all his visualization techniques and then is on the ice and ready to go is different than the kid who is running around the hallway 5 minutes before he's supposed to go on the ice and doesn't really care to be there.
But that's what comes back to what Hal was saying, that before the season starts, we have a plan. We explain the philosophy. This is our rules. This is the philosophy. This is our whatever, how we're going to prepare for the game. So that's what it comes down to. That's what Hal was talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think there certainly, it's a good point, Thomas. There's a difference, and it can be confusing in terms of how we use our languaging. There's a definite difference between rolling 4 lines or 6D and using 4 lines in 6D. And I think it's really important. I think mainly what we're saying, and I think Wally would agree, but he can speak with himself, is largely at the youth levels, you got to find a way to use all 4 lines. If you got 4 lines, use all your people. But I totally agree with your sentiment or the question. Like, absolutely, as Mike has said, you coach and you use ice time to support your team values.
Yes.
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 Absolutely. Yeah. Even if your overall mission is to use all 4 lines and to, largely find a role for everybody so they play all the time, and it's not always going to be totally equal, but use them all. But absolutely, you use ice time to reward a great shift, or a kid that's worked his butt off at practice all week. And it's like, yeah, man, maybe I should, it's a good time to give them a little extra ice because, they're setting the example for the rest of the team that you want to reinforce. I think absolutely those are in the mix. And just a couple of comments. I was interested in Dom's sort of painting of the picture of him developing as a player to the point where he understood that really having everyone involved is a really, really good thing. And, most of us have seen the series on Michael Jordan and the Chicago Bulls. And I've read lots about, Phil Jackson and his approach. And it was a battle for Michael Jordan to learn what Dom learned, that, the whole thing with the triangle offense was they wanted the whole team involved. And Michael didn't want to give up that sort of power because he so much believed in himself to be able to get the job done, like Dom did when he was younger. But he came around, and it worked out extremely well for both Michael and the Bulls. They embraced that triangle offense, which involved everybody in the game, and the results are show for themselves. And it was very interesting on this topic. On the Oilers-Kings game last night, they were talking about how a month ago, they kind of recognized, and I don't know exactly when the transition happened, but Draisaitl and McDavid's ice time has gone from 24, 25, 26 minutes a game. At the last stretch, they're like 7-2-1 in their last 10. Their last stretch of games, they're down to 18, 19 minutes a game. And they're winning games. And so they're desperate to get in the playoffs, and they're desperate to win, obviously. But there's a coaching recognition there that, maybe we will be better. Obviously using them a lot, and maybe using them in critical situations more than other people, but finding roles for, everybody on the team. And so, it again, it is an age-old question, and skill for sure plays a role in winning, but so does being a relentlessly hardworking team and making it hard for the opponent. And almost every player can do that, and they control that, how hard they work on the back check, how hard they work in races and battles. And that was our whole focus with the Danish team, is to be hard to play against, because we knew we weren't going to be, no matter what we did, and we improved immensely in the skill department, we were never going to be as good as most of the teams we were playing skill-wise. But we could make it hard for other teams, and everybody could do that. And it's great for players to feel like, hey, I have some control over whether I get a little bit extra ice because they had a great shift, like you mentioned, Thomas, or I worked my butt off, or whatever it is. And that, in the environment like Mike is trying to set up, where they believe if they work hard and they do good things, they will get rewarded. I think that's for sure critical.
Tim,
And I think Carla was next, Wally, but go ahead.
yeah, I wanted to mention, I see different hands being up. One of my concerns is that it turns into a male feedback session, and every time some of the women are on, their insights and their angle of thought is really worth considering. So I had actually texted Carla to share her thoughts, because guys, let's face it, we get talking and thinking, and I think what Carla can add in terms of her thoughts at this point in time would provide a perspective that we all need. Carla, go ahead.
Oh, you're muted, Carla.
There, I'll fix that. But I said the women on the call need to speak up if they want to have their voice heard. So that's the role we got to get better at. But no, and part of it, Wally's just listening and learning. And I think that's the best part of this whole group, is it's a group full of learners. It's intriguing. You can slice this thing 1,000 different ways. When Dominic was talking about his experience, and I feel that's what's happening to our game, is our game's becoming an individual athlete kind of sport. I think that's highlighted through skill development. I think it's highlighted in, I saw a tweet today, hey, passing is a lost art. And I'm like, well, it's because in off season, people are on the ice on their own with a one-on-one coach, not moving the puck the same. And that's not painting every skill coach with one brush. But I think in a world that is a team sport, we've really individualized our game. And I think that's hindered a lot of the greatness that comes from the game of hockey. And I think it trickles onto our benches too. I've played with some superstars in our game, and some were all about the team and some were all about themselves, and everyone brings a little bit different, and the impact is different. So, I hear Thomas and Tim, and I hear what they're saying about rewarding ice. I guess my natural wonder is there's only so much time, so many times you can double shift a player or get them to play at their max. And I'm more natural of the thought that I want my standards within the program. I want the expectation, to what Tim was saying, the expectation of being a relentless player to be owned by every player. And our top players then understand to play at that level for them, because it should be at a higher pace than our third and fourth lines. They can't go out every other shift. It doesn't give them the maximum success of their skill set and their impact in the game. So, I think it's different if you've got TV timeouts, and there's variables that can certainly give you opportunities to throw lines back out. But I find if you can keep a natural rhythm as a group, as a team of 4 lines, so again, not rolling, but playing your 4 lines to the level that is expected by everyone, then I find that's where my groups have had the most success. And, I sit, and just like you guys, you sit and you watch these teams play their top end for exactly that, the McDavid numbers, and you don't win, and it's time and time and time again, yet people don't seem to want to make the adjustment. And I just think, are we coaching or are we not? And if we're coaching, we're taking those opportunities. Maybe somebody didn't have the right back check on that shift. Well, do they make that correction? And if they don't, I think, yeah, you're right, Thomas, you manage that wholeheartedly, because you're trying to set a standard. But it is, man, it is a moving target constantly. And you know, that's why I appreciate, and that's why, Wally, lots of times I don't mind just listening, because I like to hear the philosophies of everyone, because I think it naturally makes me reflect on what I do and how I'm doing it. But I just believe in standards. I believe in the expectation that everyone plays to that same standard. We all do, I'm sure. But how do you motivate to get there? And I guess that's the question you're asking, Thomas, is how do you motivate to get there?
Carla, right away question for you, because it just came to my mind. Do women perform better when they are happy?
Humans perform better when they're happy.
Yeah.
So when you feel, like Wally put it in the side text there, like when you feel valued and you feel part of it, it's really important. But people, you know, you have to truly understand inside, are you wanting to win as a team, or do you want glory as an individual? It's the same as a coach. You know, are you trying to get the best out of all your players, or are you trying to win for the glory of whatever comes with that? And I think as a player, it's the same. But everyone's definition of happiness, Thomas, is different. And that's where all that team building and team identity and standard and all that helps at least get people walking in the same direction. But there's always roughage, always roughage. I was fortunate when I played. I pretty much every coach I played for, we had a depth on our team that the team just played, and everyone played. But yeah, I think it's the $1 million question always, which makes the game fun.
Go ahead, Hal. I think you were next.